Welcome to the zoo. The keepers of Reddit. How are the animals acting differently now that there are no visitors to the zoo? As a keeper coordinator, I've been working at the now closed zoo almost every day for the past month. Animals that are free roaming, peacocks, iguanas, are more active and follow keepers around like they usually do with visitors. Most of the others don't show much change in behavior, although birds like swans and flamingos are using the edges of their habitats more. True, I haven't found much change in pets or those animals that are being well taken care of. I have noticed that this has mostly affected stray animals whose only source of food was by eating all they found on the streets/parks. Since nobody is around, they don't get food. I do my best by feeding like 10 to 12 stray dogs who come to eat at our farm. It makes my day watching them eat. Most of our animals are happy as long as we can keep their routines, feeding times, etc. For some they need a little extra. We do public encounters with our koalas, wombats, and snakes among others, so we spend an hour or so a day cuddling and handling these animals to keep them happy. A few of our koalas really fret if they don't get their cuddles. Otherwise we just try to continue to spend time with animals that are expecting human interaction, and of course we can take things for walks around the place, like I'm sure you've seen at other zoos. Our wombats love a run and sniff, dingoes as well. Your job is to cuddle koalas, and I'm stuck in home all alone. In our local zoo the apes started to miss the visitors, so they brought in an artist who's now just painting in the empty monkey house so the apes have someone to watch. Edit. Whoa, this blew up overnight. Europe. They could tell they missed the visitors because they became very bored and are much more excited about the keepers than usual. Apparently they watch the visitors as much as the other way around. The keepers now have to pay them more attention too, and they also do stuff like hide food for them as a game. They need a TV and Sesame Street. Just put on a Planet of the Apes marathon and they'll be happy for hours. Don't give them ideas. Due to temporary staff cuts, they no longer have the people to regularly walk the wombats. Some of the wombats are holding the keepers personally responsible. Imagine having a 20-kilogram chunk of muscle with big rodent teeth mad at you. Wait, someone's job is to walk the wombats? How do you do it? Like a dog on a leash? How do I apply to be a wombat walker? I have so many questions. I feel this video of a keeper trying to get work done while a wombat wants to play needs to be linked here. I'm just trying to see the penguins walk around the zoo in person, man. That's all I want. You can meet the penguins at the zoo where I used to work. It's just outside Chicago if you happen to find yourself there after this quarantine. They get to choose whether or not to interact with you, of course, but they will generally choose to because you have fish, which is their favorite quality in a person. Edit. It's at Brookfield Zoo. I'm not sure how much it costs, but I think around $40. I've been told that morning encounters have less kids and more opportunities for adults to attract penguin attention without being rude. The penguins are trying to escape to Madagascar more often. My wife works at the gift shop for our zoo, and the other day we had to go move some stuff around in the store because due to some heavy rains, it had flooded a bit. Of course we took a lap around the empty park, other than the keepers and few maintenance workers, and found that all the animals were really active and playful. A lot of them seemed really curious about us too. I'm sure they get used to seeing crowds every day and were starving for attention. Not as a keeper, but I hear the lions a lot more from my house now. Weirdly reassuring to wake up to and realize the world is still going on. Wait, what? Do you live on the plains of Africa next to the GW Zoo, or do you own lions? Nothing that exotic. Sorry to disappoint. I live very close to a large zoo in the UK. No Carol Baskin-esque dramas. The city's gotten pretty quiet with all the events going on, so the zoo noises are a lot more prominent. Can just about see the orangutans rolling about and playing hide and seek with their blankets outside if I shimmy out the Velux onto the roof. My girlfriend is a keeper and animal behaviorist. She says their animals are becoming stressed. One of their African grey bads has been plucking his own feathers. She also mentioned that, because they can't touch many of the animals due to the virus potentially spreading to another zookeeper, many of the animals are looking and acting depressive, not eating well, etc. The 2 pygmy hippos, 6 bison, giant anteater, and lowland tapir I took care of. I'm temporarily laid off, didn't have any change in behavior. Sulcatus are still holes. How are sulcatus holes? They're just always in the way, whenever you try to do anything. Raking up leftover hay? Let me just plop myself right on top. Need to dump and change our water? I just decided I need a bath. Just filled our water? Let me take a piss in it. Trying to hose the enclosure? Let me repeatedly cloth line myself. Trying to scrub my shud stains off the floor? I need to be on top of it now. And take another shot. Another tortoise is bleeding? Let me try to eat his foot overnight. Another tortoise is trying to eat my bleeding foot. Let me just sit here until someone finds me in the morning and not try to move or get away. Trying to bandage up my bleeding foot and provide antibiotics. Now's the time for me to struggle and thrash around. Oh, you installed heat lamps to help my healing process? I'm gonna sit in this corner and go on a hunger strike. Stuff like that. The guests love them though. They're likely the most popular of all the animals I took care of. I'm an aquarium keeper, and I've certainly noticed a change. Fish are not as stressed as they used to be, as there are no longer children stomping around and banging on glass screaming Nemo, Nemo, it's Nemo at every clone fish. We brought some of our younger penguins down to let them watch the fish, and they were intrigued but confused as to why they couldn't catch them through the glass. Our octopus has become much more friendly as well, and instead of hiding all day from people, enjoys playing with small baby toys or solving food puzzles. It's been nice. I wish there were guidelines people had to sign to behave at zoos before entering, but at the same time, they are the lifeline we so desperately need to keep functioning. The pandas could finally get it on. 10 years they have been waiting for people to leave them alone. Imagine waiting for privacy for 10 years. Finally get some, only to have pictures of you getting it on plastered all over the internet. Not as a keeper here, but there was a story on the local news that the apes at the local zoo are apparently very bored because they don't have any people doing stupid things to watch anymore. I guess we are the zoo. We are the entire circus. I take care of fish, but mostly jellyfish. The jellies don't give a single duck. It's been nice for me though, because I can turn most of their display lights off so less algae grows, and I have to do less scrubbing. My actual fish don't care. The beluga whales were screeching at the cleaning crew the other day, which was hilarious. I don't work with the whales, but it seems like they enjoy, or are at least interested in, seeing others around. Not as a keeper, but I work in a preschool that has a guinea pig. I got to bring him home, since we shut down, and he's got a huge personality. The room he's in is usually loud at school, so I think he's enjoying the quiet time and really flourishing. It is said to be cruel to keep a guinea pig by itself. Guinea pigs are very social animals, and it is illegal in Switzerland to own only one guinea pig. For a lot of our animals, having the ability to interact with guests is actually extremely important. Even for primates to be able to play with kids through the glass, they are missing out on a lot of enrichment. Guests keep a lot of the monkeys entertained. I watch our guests all day long show our marmosets and capuchin selfie cameras, and they love to see their reflection. Guests will also show videos on their phones to animals, and the monkeys totally enjoy it. We have a rescue cockatoo named Ro who sings "Row row row your boat" to guests. When little kids dance and sing it to her, she gets really excited and feeds off their energy. So do our other cockatoos on exhibit. But now without guests to show off for, every now and then, when it's quiet we'll hear her start "row row row" and then she stop and huffs a bit and gets really quiet and sad because she has no one to sing to. Some of our animals really miss having kids to show off for. You also have to remember that animals in zoos for the most part have grown up totally accustomed to being around people 24/7. They are not wild animals at all really. They've grown up in a very different social dynamic. Quite a few animals get noticeably depressed in the winter months every year when we have few guests, and then perk up in the spring when we get busy. Edit. In case anyone wants to see Ro, here's a video a person found floating around on the internet of her. Not as a keeper, but just today I read a news article from my parents' home country in the Caribbean that a 100-year-old turtle finally laid eggs at the zoo because there was no foot traffic. I work on an activity farm. There is a 22-year-old Shire horse. He acts like a duck when there are customers around. With no customers, he's actually still a duck. That being said, he's still awesome. Edit. I've been asked what he does when there are customers. Basically, if he sees any customer feeding any other animal in the large barn where he hangs out in the day, he will stare at them and stomp his front hoof on the ground. That guarantees they look at him. If they don't immediately come over to feed him, he will start kicking the heavy metal bars that divide his area and the pen next door. This makes one hell of a noise, and he will keep it up, all whilst staring at the person with the food. If they feed him, then he rewards them by slobbering all over their hands as he takes the food. Also, at the end of the day, he is really good at telling the time. He knows when we close and what time he should be released from the barn and taken to the field/stables where he spends the night. If he isn't let out bang on time, he starts kicking the shut out of the gate at the back of his pen. This is a big metal gate, and it sounds like someone playing a giant glockenspiel with a sledgehammer. He will keep this up until it is opened. Some customers are just scared to hand feed him. He is massive and his mouth is big enough to easily fit someone's hand in. Some customers come up to me with their bag of food and ask me if I will feed him because he keeps staring at me, but I'm a bit too nervous to feed him. I happily oblige. I love that ornery old bastard.